Hi, my name is Andile. I was born and raised in Bushbuckridge, and currently I'm in Pretoria. What inspired me to be a farmer or to go into farming is the fact that we need to eat, and just the journey of learning how our food is produced, and mostly the fact that there's a million and millions and millions of people who go hungry. That's one of the reasons why I became a farmer, to ensure that we are able to feed people. Is the history of farming in my family? I'd say I'm a first generation farmer. How did my family feel, or my parents feel, about me being a farmer? It's a new thing for them, so I think we're all giving each other a chance to explore and get to decide where we want to land. I'd say up to today, they're proud of who I am. The type of farming that I'm into is mixed farming, but mostly I practice crop production. What captivated me about this type of farming is, one, there's so many reasons. One, the fact that plants don't talk. Number two is the fact that I think crop can be done in so many ways in different places. For instance, right now, we're on top of a building, and that's something else that I couldn't do with animals. What do you need to study to become a hydroponic farmer? You can study anything, but what you need to understand or have, it's the background of farming, have the understanding of farming, because it's the same thing. I'd ask, what do you need to eat? So yeah, I think you need to have the understanding of farming, because there's a lot of people who are branching out from their careers to farming. So a plant pathologist, like any other pathologist, they are more involved in the disease side of things. But when we talk about plants, it's mostly having to understand what happens around plants in terms of diseases, the type of diseases, and what can be done with those diseases, working around diseases. That's what a plant pathology does. As a plant pathologist myself, I'd say one is just to understand that plant pathology is around plant diseases, and you need to have that understanding. And with hydroponic farming, it would apply a lot, as we're growing plants and there's diseases around that. You just need to have that understanding of diseases. I established Farmer's Choice in 2018, and also being operational in 2018, whereby I just don't do farming only, but I do trainings as well. And throughout the years, from 2018 up until 2021, I've been doing conventional farming, which is simply open field farming, and trainings as well. And then from 2021, moved to hydroponic farming up until now. So I started Farmer's Choice as being a farmer myself. One of the choices that I made was being a farmer, was to be a farmer. And so I decided I'm going to make choices for everyone who's going to eat what I produce. So let it be a farmer's choice. I got funding for Farmer's Choice in, I think it was 2020, the first funding that I got, which pushed Farmer's Choice to be where it is today. What is hydroponic farming? So mostly people will understand the word hydro, which relates to water. So in simply terms, it means that we're growing crops without the use of soil, as most people are used to growing stuff with soil. But when it comes to hydroponic, we're not using any soil, it's just water. So the plants depends on water. So hydroponic comes in many forms, and depending on the type of system that one wants to use. It's expensive to start, but cheaper throughout. So it's a win-win situation. So I would say for anyone who wants to start the kind of farming that I'm doing or the system that I have, depending on the size that one is looking at, but if let's say we're looking at a 20 by 10 structure, you would need to have at least 300,000 for a start. Then that can push you to start, just to start. So, and mostly people want to know, how do you get funding? I was lucky. But I got funding from one of the programs that most companies do run, and one of those companies being SAB program. So I joined the SAB program to get funding. So part of the challenges that I'm facing currently, it would be the fact that my structure is made of a shade net and plastic, and being on top of a building, there's a lot of wind that goes around. So mostly the plastic is easily damaged. So part of the issues is that my structure might get blown away in one of those good days with the wind. So with the structure that I have, it would be wiser to get insurance, because it's not sort of withstanding hail or any harsh conditions, but it's just the minor ones that we and our crops are protected from. But with hailstorm, it might be that the structure will be then taken down. Some of the risks that farmers need to be aware of when you are within hydroponic farming is, like I said, the different types of systems that we have, and mostly because we're relying in water, which means you're using electricity to pump out your water, as we're in a crisis or a pandemic, so to say, of load shedding. Should your pump fail during that part of load shedding, that means your plants will die, especially if you're relying in one pump. All of it, your plants will die. And the other thing is, if one plant is infected with any disease or anything, there are high chances that it will affect all of the other plants. Some of the challenges that are faced financially would be, I still want to expand with the structure that I have right now. And considering the fact that hydroponic, or the system that I use, is more expensive, that has been one of the challenges for me, having to find finances to finance and grow it bigger. Some of the challenges that I faced would be the fact that I decided to place a farm right inside a shopping center, and when it comes to some of the customers, they didn't believe that there's a farm inside a shopping center. So having to convince them, and having to convince them in terms of how the food is produced, was a little bit of a challenge, but luckily we're moving along. The benefits of hydroponic, there's like a million of them. But just to name a few, one is the fact that we are able to save water since there's always a crisis around water. And there's also the fact that, which is optional to any farmer, we chose not to use any chemicals on our produce, which works best with hydroponic system. And the fact that it's less labor intensive than the other side of farming. So part of the benefits of doing hydroponic farming is that the plants grow 10 times faster than in open field. For instance, lettuce in open field will take about 3 months, whereas in hydroponic it takes a month. In terms of size, the plants, they grow bigger in hydroponic systems because there's always the feeding of water and nutrients all the time, whereas on the other side, you feed them on a specific time and you hope that your soil gives you the nutrients that you need. I mean, we are hydroponic farmers, we don't need soil, so we're saving up on some of those or some of that soil. And the fact that there's less weeding or there's no weeding at all, so we grow our plants free from weeds. Who are my competitors in this space? My competitors would be all the other regular farmers, open field farmers, but I wouldn't really consider them as my competitors, as I do something which they don't. And I produce throughout the year and they don't. So having to bring the farm inside the shopping center was one hell of a job. Because I mean, like everybody, we used to farming being in an open field, and having to come to corporate people and saying you want to bring a farm into their building was a different story, because I needed to explain to them what hydroponic looks like, how it would look like, and having to go through the steps of engineering where you have to consider every weight that you put on the slab. So that took a bit of time for them to be able to say, yes, we can start farming. I pitched the idea in 2020 and it got approved late 2021. I think I was in the boardroom of the shopping center when I got the news, because I was always there. So what went through my mind when I got the news was then I can start setting up, because already I had everything in place. It was just a matter of having to have the contract and having to start. Reason why I decided to come to Menlyn Mall, one is it's one of South Africa's biggest shopping center. And with my research, in 2020, it had over 14 million people coming through to the mall, which means there's over 14 million people who need to eat on a daily basis. One, it was because of market. And also for me, it was to try and green out the space that we're in, and considering the fact that if you're coming to a mall, you might as well just get everything that you need than having to travel to different places to get what you need. So currently we producing mostly lettuce, different types of lettuce, and that being butter lettuce, red and green oak, which creates your mixed lettuce, and we do coarse lettuce as well, and we do spring onion as well, and just for those who like things, we do herbs as well. We've changed from last year up until today, or we've grown from last year up until today with a couple of people. For instance, with the number of employees that we've had, currently we're sitting at 10 people. And the farm also added a little bit of weight, whereby we've extended the amount of tables than what we had last year. And even with interest from customers and all that, we've sort of grown from last year up until today. So the plan with the rooftop farm is to industrialize it, and should the plan that I have in my head work, this would be one of the biggest rooftop farm in Africa. So yes, that's the plan, making it one of the biggest rooftop farm in Africa. In order to have a fully set up system like the one that I have, or in order for me to expand, the system that I need is basically an NFT system, and having to create more structures around, like the shade net or the plastic side of it, just to ensure that the plants are protected. NFT, it's just simply saying that we're growing plants in water with a little bit of help from some of the nutrients that we add in the water. So when it comes to our irrigation system, or the amount of water that we're using, is that we sort of have a number of tanks that we fill in once every 2 weeks. And how it works is that once we start irrigating, our water is then recirculated around the tables, whereby it goes in, irrigate, and then pumped back to the tank and then irrigate again. Rather than with a regular farmer, they irrigate once and then the water just goes into the soil and then that's it. So with hydroponic farming, the nice thing is that you sort of create a favorable environment for the plants. So it doesn't matter if you are in a cold area or a warm area. What you try and do is create a favorable environment for the plant, whereby if you have all the powers, you can install heaters inside your tunnel, or you can install fans inside the tunnel. Then that creates like a favorable environment for the plant. The nice thing with the location that I chose is that there's securities from the shopping center. So it becomes much more easier for me in terms of security wise, because they are the ones who also come and work around the farm, not specifically in the farm, but within the surroundings of the farm. They're the ones who ensures that everything is still safe. With my market, which I think it would be an advice to every farmer or anyone who wants to start farming, is that you start by doing your research around the target market that you want and get to understand the clients that you're targeting before you can start farming with whatsoever. So what I did is, when I got to the mall, I went to each and every client that I have right now and pitched the idea of what I want to do, and also asked what they're currently buying and the quantities that they're buying. And then, yeah, I started producing exactly what they actually are buying. And mostly being the restaurants, because I mean, we eat burgers and salads every day. So with the team that I have, it's 9 women and 1 male. And in most cases, because there isn't really much to do, so we work together. What we try and do is, if there's a lot of work, we try and divide ourselves. If one has to do deliveries or one has to do marketing or all those things involved within our workspace, we try and develop ourselves. With social media, I think so far I've been able to sort of reach out to some of the customers that I have currently, and also just having to make other people being aware that there's a rooftop farm in Menlyn, and also most people are conscious of what they eat. And with my social media, I think I've touched a number of people, because I've had a number of people coming to me saying they want to buy because of certain reasons. So when I started Farmer's Choice in 2018, I wanted to do a combo whereby there's agricultural trainings and the production as well. So I decided to get accredited on the same year, 2018, for the agricultural trainings. Reason why I wanted to share my knowledge through trainings is, for instance, I became a farmer myself at a very young age, and looking at the food that we need and the people who are within the farming industry, it's mostly old people. So I just wanted to get young people interested in farming, and also to just share my journey and knowledge around farming with them. So to qualify to do the short skills program with me or the short courses with me, you need to be able to read and write. We're not specifically looking for a specific qualification from one, but we're trying to give you a qualification as well. You just need to be able to read and write. So to ensure that most youth and other young people do get interested in the farming industry, I think so far now with the introduction of rooftop farming, there's a lot of young people who've shown interest, and there's still more, I think, with the fact that now you can work on top of a building, and you don't have to bend over or be on top of a tractor to do farming, but rather you just use water to grow your plant. I think there's going to be more young people who want to be involved in such a space. I, as Andile, so far, with everything that I've done, the one important thing that I'd like people to remember and to carry on is that I've fed the people, and I'm still feeding the people, and I would want other people to carry on living on that, ensuring that we all are able to afford food. Mostly what I like to say to anyone, and mostly women who are within the space or who are looking into coming into the space, it's that it simply starts with one seed. I mean, you plant one seed, the next thing you have 7 plants or so. So start where you are, and eventually you'll reach your goal. And it's simply by starting with one seed.